I know that as a business owner, even if I think, okay, I just want to tidy up before I do this next thing in order to get my head in the right space. But I've been making decisions all day. Perhaps I've started really early, and getting organized is a little about deciding, do I want it? Do I need it? Where should this go? And if I've already got decision fatigue, does
Yes.
stopping actually become a procrastination tactic? Is it a distraction?
Well, you brought up two important things. One is procrasti-clearing, and this is a real thing. Procrasti-clearing is when you're not clearing in order to build focus and to prepare, you're doing it in order to delay. And you can always tell, and procrasti-clearing, sometimes it's hard to tell, but procrasti-clearing, it's like, maybe those shells never bothered you before, but now that the annual report is due, you feel like you could not possibly move forward on the annual report until those shells are in order, you know? And then imagine that the annual report was done. Would you still feel like clearing out the shelves, or you'd be like, no, I want to go outside? You know, I mean, so it can be difficult, but I think it's very important to distinguish between helpful preparation and procrasti-clearing. And so one of the things that I think is really helpful, and it kind of for the sort of mindset that you're describing, which is very familiar, is the 10-minute closer. And this is something that I do kind of in every transition point of my day. Take 10 minutes at the end of the day, so not in the middle of your day, but at the end of the day, when you're just closing everything out. And so you're putting, you're taking the dirty dishes and coffee mugs and putting them away. You're throwing away the scraps of paper you don't need anymore. You're sorting through what you went and like putting it back where it belongs. You're putting books on the shelves. You're putting pens in the pen cups. This is my thing. I don't know why it is, but like I take out 100 pens during the course of the day. I'm like, why can't I just use the same pen? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I got pens everywhere. And the thing is, it's no big deal to put pens away. And yet when I come in the morning and there's just stuff everywhere, it makes me feel like, oh, I just want to turn around and walk out again. And so taking 10 minutes to put everything away, first of all, it's kind of a good transition in terms of like, okay, work time is over and I'm heading to a new part of my day. So it's helpful in that way. It is very calming, and this is things that usually don't take a lot of decision. You just sort of have to make the time for them. So I think it is manageable to do at the end of the day. And then in the morning or whenever it is that you come back, it'll just feel so much more ready for you to sit down and work. You don't feel like you have to fight your way through a bunch of junk. Just to get to your screen or whatever it is. So I think that's a good habit. Another habit that can be really helpful is as you're going along is the 1-minute rule. And this is anything you can do in less than a minute, do without delay. So if you can print out a letter and file it, if you can scan something and toss it, if you can, quickly respond to an email with a couple phrases, just try to do that. And that, again, that gets rid of a lot of the kind of tiny tasks that just like are the scum on the surface of life. But you
Right.
don't have to feel like, okay, now I'm going to take a half an hour and deal with this. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to do this as I go. Because I think a lot of people feel very overwhelmed. They don't have a lot of extra time, energy, or money to deal with clutter. So they have to find ways to manage it in the little interstices of their day. But fortunately, that works. If you just do a little bit over time, it's amazing how much order you can create and maintain.
I think that they are both very doable. Both the finding 1 minute and just if it's going to take under a minute, getting it done, and the 10-minute rule. That transition, I think, especially if you're working in a home office and you're using the kitchen table, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I can never leave my work because it's
Yeah.
everywhere. That's
Yes.
really great. And talking of pens, I threw in a few highlighters as well. I need like so many highlighters. I don't know
I
what
know. I know. Yeah. Well, it's interesting what you say about the kitchen table. One thing I think for many people to think about is, do you need room of your own? Now, of course, Virginia Woolf said, everyone needs writers need a room of their own, and maybe you can't have an entire room of your own. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but you can have room of your own. You can have a desk, you can have a corner, someplace where you can put things and nobody will take them or borrow them or rearrange them. Nobody will pilfer from there. You have kind of
Right.
an expectation that if you set something up, it'll just stay the way you put it. Where obviously, like the kitchen table is probably not a good place for that. And maybe even if you like to work at the kitchen table, you might want to have a place where you could have things just sort of set up so that you could come and quickly get what you wanted. I think some people, they sort of don't have any place that's just theirs.
Yes.
And then sometimes others complain because the stuff is out, and so then that creates conflict. And then sometimes they just feel very frustrated because they sort of feel like there's no place for them. One thing I've really noticed is that for a lot of people, they have more space than they think. That when they get rid of the things they don't need, don't use, don't love, they often end up with more space than they realize they had. Like if you really get everything off that desk that's sitting in the corner that is just really not being used, there might be nothing left. So people might have more opportunity to find space for themselves than they realize.